So I'm over in the Czech Republic, fortunate enough to be attending the Pardubice for both days of their meeting on October. Tomorrow, Sunday, going to watch the world famous cross-country race, the Velka Pardubice. Today, I was fortunate enough, thanks to the kindness of Jaroslav Millar, the director of Pardubice Racecourse, and Hanna Kamenika, who's the office manager there, was given permission to go onto the course, get up close to the fearsome, very varied obstacles that make up the supreme test that is the Velka Pardubice. So this is my thoughts as a former international event rider as to what the questions are posing for horse and rider on this amazing cross-country track. It's not a comprehensive fence by fence course walk, but it's in order, I hope. There's some fences through the middle which are derivations really of hedges and rails, but this is my thoughts on the particular different questions, varied questions that we perhaps don't get in the UK cross-country races or indeed the Irish Banks races. So I hope you enjoy it. Fence number 3, this is the small water jump, jumping from those guys towards me, towards the grandstand in the background. It's nice size water. Of course they need to learn these different techniques. And so if you've ever heard of a single Velka Pardubice fence, it'll be this one, the taxis. Very famous, very influential fence. I think one of the reasons why it's so difficult is, yes, it is big, but it's the green on green, so there's very little way of reading the fence for the horse unless they are experienced at this type of fence, and also you have come off the bend, people, other riders change direction, changing their line, and of course with this type of fence, when there isn't much to read, you want to give your horse as much time as possible to look at it. And if you have horses forcing you to change course, change direction, it's very difficult. Very square in front, higher behind than it is, and a drop on the back. It's a big fence. If you didn't think it looked fearsome from takeoff side, it certainly looks fearsome from the landing side. That's a wide ditch. That requires a horse with a bit of scope. And so there is the taxis in the background, you've just jumped that. And then your next fence is the Irish Bank, which is very high to the top. So they need to jump into the bank, not up onto the top of it. Certainly the banks I've seen at Cheltenham, they are small enough that you jump onto them, whereas this you're sort of jumping into it. It's very different, and again, a lack of white to give you your takeoff point. You have the ditch to help, but it's a harder fence than to read. I side of the Irish Bank, again trying to give some perspective of how high up you are. I'm 6'3", and I can't see over the top. It's a long way down and straight away into the dirt. And of course, one of the unique parts of Pardubice is the change from the turf to the dirt, which has been watered. Yeah, very different, only in sections, but energy sapping if they're not efficient on it. So the Canal turn, a nice fence, nice white rails, nicely presented hedge. In entry, of course, the Canal turn is a left-handed turn. Pardubice, right-handed turn, and it's very sharp. So I would imagine from the Irish Bank, you're trying to get your position quite close to the yellow marker to be able to come across at the angle. But it's not a wide hedge, as long as you're moving forwards. In eventing, we talk a lot about controlling their shoulders in fences like this. I'm sure it's something they think about with the cross-country horses too. Yeah. You can probably hear that in the background, but Roman Vitek was just telling me that this is a different dirt. This is a lighter, almost sort of a dark sand. So again, more energy sapping surface. One of the really famous fences, the double, land, one stride and jump. Nicely presented, but quite narrow, so the field are all going to be jockeying for position, which obviously makes it that much harder. So I'm stood now with my back to the first fence. When I was walking distances, when I was eventing, I would work on 8 of my paces being one stride for my horse. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So again, it's the same. You just need to be carrying momentum to make the distance. And obviously being straight is really important, because if you are not straight and you're on a diagonal line, it's a longer distance. So you make it that much drop bank. What I think is interesting is that the grandstand will be packed tomorrow. So as the horses come towards it, if you can see the green on green grass doesn't really have a focal point, whereas the bright crowds will. Lots of horses will miss their takeoff. It's a pretty big drop. Maybe 1.30 meters from the top to the bottom. And a bend to contend with as well. So there in the background by the white BMW, I think. Other brands are available, although I do like BMWs if they're listening, is the bank. Then across the dirt to a wall. Shaky hand, sorry. It's only low, but it's, again, different obstacles. They need training. What they call the baby water jump. Nice white rails to mark it up. You're jumping high to low. White rails to mark the back of it. It's a very different type of fence. Some horses just will look down into the water and lose momentum. And of course that makes it much more tricky. This is the big water. It's quite wide, but not very wide.
And without this rail.
Nice white rail.
In history, it was no rail and 1 more meter.
And now it's shallow, so you could put a foot in it and not disappear.
You can ask the father.
And Roman, you were saying in 73, when your father won it, was
63,
65. And it was 2 meters deep.
You see the level there?
Yeah.
It
There
was the level.
Go swimming. Ditch. Not a big ditch, but they just have to know what they're doing. Nice ground line with the white log, and then they have shavings that they use to give a mark where the edge of the ditch is, where they can jump to. A nice presented fence. Horses just going down for the last flat race. Again, good size hedge, but nice take-off boards, take-off rails. Shouldn't be a difficult fence. But the next fence is over to the left. So you want position here. You're going between that yellow top marker is on your left-hand side, white marker on your right-hand side, and your next fence is just in the background there, number 25. So you want position here, because if you're wide on the outside, you're going to get carried a long way around. Again, nicely presented. It's a big fence. I'll walk up to it. Camera's at my chest height. So it's a decent metre 50 high, I would say, metre 45. Nearly 5 foot in old money. And it has some width to it. But really crucially is the landing on the other side is higher, which I'll show now. So this is that same fence from the back. You see as I walk up to it, I'm holding the camera at the same height. Takeoff is all the way down there. Gives you some idea of the width of the hedge. It's a big fence, and the trouble is late in the course, as horses get tired, they won't be quite so quick to react with their landing gear, and I think this is where you see a few stumble and falter just as the pace is quickening as well, because we're getting quite close to home at this stage. This is the back of the fourth last, and then the last section of dirt out through onto the grass, and then you're on the racecourse proper, which takes you around in front of the grandstands to the finish.
So what were my thoughts? Well, firstly, it's a beautiful, beautiful racecourse. So much greenery, and the grass is beautifully maintained, as are the dirt and mud surfaces. This is not simply just mud because there's grass not there. It's a determined surface to provide a unique test, and it's certainly a unique test. We talk in the UK, perhaps there's horses that we know are better left-handed than right-handed or vice versa. That simply is an option around this track. You have to be able to go left, you have to be able to go right, and you need to be adjustable, like a 3-day eventing cross-country horse, for example. Jumping onto the Irish bank takes away a lot of energy and speed. You then have to get off the bank and get back up into your gallop, and to do that efficiently is definitely going to be an attribute. You know, when you drive a car, if you overuse the brake and the accelerator, you're very inefficient with your petrol. The same is true on a horse. So rideability, I think, is a key skill for the horse. You certainly need a rider as well that is aware of what's going around them, understands the test, where to be positioned on the track. And it's certainly a different test. It's very varied, walls, rails, very big banks. It's very different to the Irish tracks and certainly the Cheltenham cross-country track. And I think it's no surprise that horses take maybe a couple of goes. You go back through history, horses don't perhaps succeed on their first, even their second attempt at the Velka Pardubice, but they learn from the experience and come forward. I've really enjoyed it. I've been aware of the Velka Pardubice for a number of years, and since working in the Czech Republic, sourcing Roger from Slovakia, I've become more aware, and the course walk today has certainly lit a bit of a fire in me to perhaps try and put something together and come back one day with a horse that could perhaps take on this amazing challenge. If you've enjoyed watching this video, I'll put a link in the description of the Czech Jockey Club YouTube channel, where you'll be able to watch the race live tomorrow at 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock UK time. And I'll put the link in there. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's lit perhaps a bit of interest about Czech racing for you. Any questions, drop me in the comments and I'll try my best to answer them.